Welcome to the L36 podcast.
Thank you.
It's good to see you guys.
What does L36 stand for?
Life 36. Life of the 36.
Life of a 36-year-old? Are you 36?
Maybe. I was 36 once.
At once?
Yeah.
It was a good
Yeah,
year.
yeah. No, so 36 there's a symbolic message in the 36. And it's a Kabbalah, like ancient mystic tale. And basically it this idea that at any one time there's 36 souls that hold the world in peace, and that the mission of L36 is to go and discover these people and what are their qualities and what are the universal truths that we can take from their stories. So it kind of translates into filmmaking, because our medium is filmmaking, kind of like yours, which is why I dragged you guys onto this show today.
So if the mission of your podcast is to find those 36 people, we are not them.
You don't know. You won't know. That's the beauty.
Sorry, Steve.
You're holding,
There's holding me 36?
yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So it's holding the world, the peace
And peace.
in peace.
And peace. Yeah.
What are they doing?
Well, we got to go find them.
You know, one time
That's
I
the whole
broke up
point.
a homeless fight and somebody called me a peacemaker.
Well, there you go.
Like last year, they were like, "You're the peacemaker."
It was a peacemaker.
Yeah. So that's why I think you're here today talking
Okay.
to me. Yeah. Yeah. But really, this is a podcast about discovering creativity, exploring different cultures, exploring the arts, and really getting into the mindsets of people that actually live, I would say, creatively, and also what that does for their lives. Because I think that, from 9 to 5 or whatever, I think that our lives are very different on the outside, and yet obviously we're good friends, and so I think that there's things that we do connect with internally. So we're gonna explore those things. But before we get there, I'd like to introduce my guests.
So thank you.
I'd like to introduce my guests, Nick and Josh Holden. And I'm just going to read a little bit of a bio about the two of them, because it's a pretty neat little story. Nick and Josh Holden, brothers, and writing, directing, producing partners. Josh and Nick Holden started their production company, Mishnoon, in Austin, Texas in 2008. That was a good year. They cut their teeth on a lot of music docs and music videos in the outlaw country music scene with the likes of Willie Nelson, Bonnie Raitt, Chris Christopherson, and others. And this led to filming B-roll for the making of the 2009 Crazy Heart soundtrack. And
Making of the music
soundtrack. And they've made well over 100 commercials and videos with their company. While filming, they were always writing songs and in and out of bands, while also participating in Austin indie film scene with the likes of Richard Linklater and Andrew.
We weren't really hanging out with Linklater.
No?
He was in the indie film scene.
Yeah.
We were just trying to hang out with him.
We were trying to hang out.
Andrew, we were friends with.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And so-
I don't really know who wrote that bio, but it's good.
We were featured extras in a movie with Linklater that he did, and we got to be around him.
When we first got to Austin, we were like
very
20 years old.
briefly.
But Dazed and Confused was like our favorite movie growing up.
Yeah.
One of them. So
yeah.
It was cool. He was just to see a filmmaker that we aspire to be like. He'd be like at the movie theaters, at a lot of different events we'd go to. So you just like, it's cool to just see someone in person that you looked up to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
Totally. But tell me
Speaking of artists, like I thought he was going to be this like crazy eccentric artist, and we showed up on set, and he was just like this cool down to earth guy throwing the football.
Oh, really?
Kind of jockish almost. In a way, you know what I mean? Like I think he played baseball in college or when he was younger. And
Yeah.
that was cool to see. Like as a 20-year-old.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. That's kind of eye-opening.
yeah, very.
But tell me, but I want to hear and kind of tell the audience about your actual films that you've put together. Can you guys just tell me about the ones that you've made so far?
Yeah. Well, we
Take that.
so we did a lot of music docs. That was kind of where we started out. It's like kind of shorter music docs and music videos. And then we made quite a few short films, which are not really worth talking about, but they were good exercises, just to make stuff. And then we probably made 5 to 8 of them or something. But then we wrote a lot. So we wrote a lot of scripts. And
That's what we kind of realized pretty quick. We were like, Man, you can write all day and it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
And films are expensive to make. So we spent a lot of time writing films and doing videos to make a living in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So a lot of writing. Like it took from 2006, we've been writing scripts ever since. So almost 20, almost 20 years of just trying to, because we were good at like shorter pieces and like characters and moments. We were taking acting classes also. So we were doing a lot of scenes every week. So we started writing our own scenes, and we were good at like getting good scenes, but then learning to write like a full length feature has been quite a journey.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we made a web series for this company, but we had like creative control. It was a comedy, and that was like our first in 2010. That was one of the like, was that our first? I guess so. It was one of our like.
We were just out of college, yeah.
Yeah, like we did it was like a 40-minute web series. It's on YouTube called The Flesh Life. It's like a comedy about two guys that
work at a male sex toy store. They make fleshlights.
Yeah. But it's fun. And we had all these actors in town do it, and it's PG-13. It was a good experience, but then
More like PG.
You're right, maybe PG.
If I had a 13-year-old, I wouldn't tell him to watch it.
Yeah. And then right around then we were like, okay, we were ready to try to make our first feature film, and that's when we wrote that and made that.
The Golden
Right.
Yeah.
So that was our first feature film.
But and that was like the experiment of how do we make a film for nothing?
Yeah.
A feature for nothing, just to kind of, just like writing, filmmaking is certainly a craft. And some people just come out of the gates like P.T. Anderson and just knows how to make a film right away.
Yeah.
Like a feature,
Right.
like Hard Eight and Boogie Nights and stuff. But it's taken us a while to, hone our craft and figure out how to tell long form storytelling.
Yeah, we didn't come up in Hollywood. Like it always seemed like there was two routes. You like go to Hollywood, work your way up in cruise, assistant direct, and make it as director. And then the other route, which was seemed to be happening in Austin. It was a good timing. There's a lot of like indie filmmakers here making these micro budget films, 50 grand and under, and crowdfunding them and stuff. Just learning by kind of mistake.
But we also didn't even start making films until we were 18. Like when we were younger, we were making like home video type stuff and like a music video and things like that on that stuff. But it was like, we were really just kind of wild, crazy Louisiana boys, you know what I mean? And it wasn't until we were 18 that we had to move to Austin. Nick basically got kicked out of Louisiana, and he had like gotten on just far off path, so far that he had to leave town. And then I came here like 6 months later to kind of live here with him. And we got into acting to find self-expression in a way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's like what pulled us in. That's like, I remember just going to acting class and our Marco Perella, who was like our acting coach, was just like, you guys have about as much emotion as like a piece of driftwood.
Tell me that.
Like we just like did not know how to express any form of emotion, Yeah.
And I brought a camera around a lot in high school.
Yeah.
Just to film like the parties and comedy skits. But it was I didn't lean into it enough or take it.
We were movie fanatics. Like we were watching movies nonstop.
Yeah.
But we weren't never in our wildest dreams thought you could do that for a living. Yeah. Growing up in this small town in Louisiana.
Because our mom was an actress. So our mom, she had out in LA, and then so she moved whenever he was born.
Yeah.
And I'm 18 months older than him. We moved back to Louisiana.
Oh, I see.
So she, our whole life was very not super thrilled that she had to leave LA to raise us in Louisiana.
Yeah.
She kind of missed LA. And she was meeting cool people, but she never really fulfilled her dream as an actress. But our whole life.
Well, until recently.
Oh, we did put her
in our movie.
Okay.
Sellout.
Okay.
She's
Mom.
Yeah, she is good.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So like as a kid, we would like go to the local news channel and do like I remember being a part of that skit. It's like a children's show.
Oh yeah.
We were in this children's show. So like, and we were with her, like it was her and her friends putting on a show, like a home, like a local channel. So and then she was in a play, and we always were, and then she had a bunch of friends from LA, like one of them's in Willie Nelson's band. he's his godfather. So so we had these like family members that were artists.
Someone in Willie Nelson's
Mickey Raphael, the harmonica player, Willie's harmonica player, is my godfather. Yeah. So we grew up.
So I got to bring my friends to the podcast.
So we grew up in like a small town in Lafayette, and I mean Louisiana. It's called Lafayette, but
yeah, I had a gun pulled.
You did? You had a gun pulled on you?
I'll think about that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on. I thought.
Sorry.
Yeah, but even so, we were always going to Willie Nelson shows our whole life since we were like my first Willie.
Our uncle Mickey's based on our uncle.
Yeah, I was like, I think my first Willie concert, I was 6 months old.
Wow.
Backstage and hanging out. Yeah. So we've just been going our whole lives. We're real close with Mickey.
So when you go and like you hang out more with all the band and all their kids. So we were like, there's like a family. So we'd always be hanging out with all the like. So there we did have
artists though. So artists, surrounded by artists.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like their old bass player B would put us on our like tell us these stories. I just remember him. He was just tell us these crazy stories and comedy Joe. He was just a very unique guy.
Yeah.
People like that. And then
and Stephen Bruton, who lived in Austin, he played with Christopherson. And so Mickey was the young guy in Willie's band, and Stephen was the young guy in Chris's band. So my parents got to be good friends with Stephen. And so that's when we started coming to Austin when we were kids. And we have these pictures of us as kids at Saxon or Antone's, like sitting on the speakers when we were little kids, and just we were just always kind of around live music. And that's why, whenever we finished high school, that's when we both started playing music. And we moved here and we were in a band. We ended up forming a band with Black Joe Lewis, who's this blues musician. And we kind of thought we would be musicians, but we were studying acting at the same time.
Yeah, we were going after being musicians. And Stephen, who was a musician, but also an actor, was like, y'all go take Marco's class. Him and his wife, Mary, were like, go take Marco Perella's class. So we started studying acting.
Gotcha.
And we studied acting. We took that class every Thursday for like 9 years or so.
Yeah, and Stephen's wife, Mary, is a photographer, who's a really good photographer. So she was teaching me film. So I was learning film and how to, an f-stop and ISO and like shooting on real film. So she was teaching me that. And then I got into film school. So,
and Stephen was a songwriter too. Chris taught him how to write songs. So I was into writing a lot of songs, even though in the band I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I was writing a lot of songs and I'd like play in my songs and he'd like help me with lyrics and writing and kind of teaching me about storytelling.
But Stephen was also an actor. So he was in a bunch of, because whenever he was with Chris, they did Heaven's Gate. They did Songwriter. They did all these movies in that fun period. I don't know if you've ever seen Songwriter. It's one of our favorite movies.
Yeah, it's
Christopherson and Willie. But like Stephen's in it, Mickey's in it. It's just this like really fun film. And so he just kind of like took that and parlayed that into an acting career. And he would just do these like smaller roles, but he was in a lot of like bigger movies. So he was doing that here as well.
Well, what did that feel like when you were a kid? I mean, is it just like one of those things like, oh yeah, that's, mom and dad's friends, like whatever? Or was it like, wow, this is really freaking cool?
Well, it was really cool. They were definitely cool. And like every time, most dinners, if we wanted to have like a fun dinner, it'd be like my mom like telling us stories about them and like or talking about them and what they were up to. So those were always the best family dinners. That's when we weren't arguing about us like being in trouble or something, something dramatic or crazy. The best dinners were hearing about like LA and their lives. So it's always fun to hear about them. And we did do some filming, but yeah, we never I took a few guitar lessons, but I never stuck with it. And we kind of were off track. We were into sports a little bit and just kind of, we definitely, my mom was friends with all the great musicians in town. So we knew them and there are some really great ones in Lafayette. And like, she'd like help put on a show every now and then.
Like this place called Grand Street.
Yeah. So we'd go to like bars as, young and like Bobby Charles, this great songwriter that we actually huge fans of now, like used to come over and like he'd always bring like Tootsie Rolls and like he was a songwriter.
Yeah, he's an incredible writer. We go to his place. He kind of lived in the swamp. We go out there and he had like lollipops for us and stuff. And we didn't know who he was, but my mom and her cousin, like, I guess I won't tell that story. It's something about they had to go get some albums before the IRS got them and things like that. Yeah. So that, they formed a loyalty there with a lot of these musicians.
So, yeah. And so they were, but it was like, I don't know, we just never thought of moving out to pursue that. There was never any, like my mom's parents weren't super supportive of her pursuing it either. They were more like stay home. So
Get a job.
so our mom and dad never really pushed for it. They were more like, yeah, get a regular job. And
Yeah.
it was definitely by accident that we kind of had to get, I had to get out. I was just getting in I was in like a dead end rut. And so Steven was actually like send Nick to Austin. And that's when I moved here at 19,
Wow.
just to really get out of trouble. And that's when I found art and music and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just the way it was.
But tell me about that point, like, because what I'm trying to understand is the point of, like, purpose, like direction, like, okay, this is it. Like, can you think of the moment where or maybe there wasn't a single moment, but a time when you're like, I feel now, maybe I'm immersed in it, like I'm living all these, that you tell me all these hundreds of stories I feel like you have of these life experiences, but you're just experiencing it versus, okay, now this is my direction. Like,
That feels like that was like when we moved to Austin, like the first 5 years.
but what was it about it?
Well, we were playing music. We were living together in this 2-bedroom apartment on the Greenbelt, and we were playing music every day. We were writing songs. We were watching a movie a day. We were studying acting. We were trying to get into film school. We were like just immersed. We were writing, and like that's how the two of us bonded and connected as well. It's really for fun. And
I gotcha.
And then like we didn't stop doing that. So then like, like we just kept doing it over and over and over and over and over. And then it just became a lifestyle. And then everyone we started to meet were all artists in Austin. And so we were hanging out with them and then making art with them and then creating art with them. And then it was like all of your friends became that all of your friends were artists creating together.
That's very cool, man.
The only other thing was in our childhood, my mom's whole family was all Lebanese, like Lebanese Syrian.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of storytelling and a lot of characters. And our uncle was like this great storyteller. So like that was the other thing, like Christmas, holidays, like if he got in a role and started telling stories, that was also like an unbelievable experience. So I remember being like, man, I wish I could tell stories like that. I'm not one to like hold the room and talk, but he could.
You're holding it right now.
I'm holding this, but I like more smaller conversation. He could hold like a room for like 12, and like, or he could hold a room for just, hold court in a kind of room and great stories. I mean, and the characters, they were all Lebanese characters. So it was all about the immigrants. Like,
you just never know, like, is this true? Is this real? Like, it doesn't really matter in that culture. It's just like, is it entertaining?
And it's story.
Yeah. And it's all these immigrants that came, like, they're all like first generation. So they all came on a boat from like Lebanon, Syria, and they all were like, had no money and all had to like kind of make a name for them, like learn to make a living. And they also kind of like dabbled in like liquor stores, cigarettes. So they were like, kind of had these like outlaw kind of lifestyles. So the characters were great. They were rebellious, wild, lots of fights. And he was a big, fighter, like kind of, womanizer. So he was always telling crazy stories. He always had a joke and stuff. So that was always, and there was some great stories. So that was also a big thing. Like, wow, but never thought that just wasn't I don't know. That was also a moment.
That was also a thing where we just grew up around, characters. So it's like all like Lebanese, just, eccentric people and these Cajuns and like, all this, like, because it's kind of weird, this mix of Lebanese and Cajun where we grew up. And so we always knew how to write that and create that and get that out of an actor and like create those performances. But then it took us a long time to learn structure.
Yeah.
That's kind of where like we had to sit down and like do it over and over and over until we could figure that out. And not just do it in a boring structure way, but try and figure out our own way to tell structure.
No, it's so interesting because I'm trying to, I'm on the other side of this. I've lived through structure through my education in college, med school, residency, fellowship. And that's like, my God, I don't want structure anymore. I'm like, because I feel like, I think what's so interesting to me is to hear, from a feeling more like a repressed creative, like what's on the other side of it. And so how do my friends that are also creatives live, but they've actually immersed in it. So it's just so interesting to hear that.
It's almost to the point where like I don't know. I was telling another filmmaker about how we made our film, and I think that we like thrive on chaos because I was explaining our process.
Who are you telling to?
This filmmaker, Danielle's friend, and as I was explaining it, I was like, "Yeah," and we didn't have any location. We had like half the locations locked in, and we were still casting as we were shooting, and like all this stuff. And like, she was starting to get a panic attack, and I was like, "It just seemed normal. It just seems normal to us. Like we just like kind of thrive in it."
Well, I mean, when I made my documentary, that's how I did.
You have to do it that way.
And I felt like that's how a documentary was made.
Right.
That's why I chose it.
Right.
I was like, let there be chaos. Let it ensue. Let's go figure it out. And eventually, after way too many trips to places, it was like, I got to rein this in. And then that becomes a very painful part. Because it's like, okay, where's the actual story?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, there isn't a story? Oh, okay.
I gotta make one.
Yeah, I gotta make one. Gotta go figure this out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But tell me about your actual, like, creative, like, process. Like, where do you decide that this is a story that's meant for me to, tell? Like, why don't you start there?
Well, obviously, just to back up a little bit, but like, so there was some like, there has been a long, just to fill in more of the information, there's been a long period where we were like, okay, we're out of college. We want to write scripts. So then there was a long period of like, okay, we need to like start paying some bills. So we started like a production company. And that was like, so we had a lot of structure. We had to go and get jobs and stuff to make some money. So then it became a real discipline of like, oh my, like, hey, how do you kind of juggle this? And it was like, hey, we want to like, if there's only X amount of energy. So like, what are our bigger, like, what are our kind of setting goals? Like, what are our daily goals? What are our like long-term goals? So it became a thing of like, okay, we need to do, for me, I was like, I want to write. I need to find a way to write every day. And we would often write together. Like we wrote a lot of scripts together just in the garage. Well, and that was, I guess, that was an interesting time. We were just out of college. So like there wasn't a ton of bills yet, but it was like, we would just sit in the garage and like write, just like throw ideas out and the goal was like, we have to finish it. I was like, we can't not, I read a lot of writing books, and I had some good writer friends. I was like, we can't not finish the script. That's the worst thing. So we just would finish. So we'd write these long scripts and just crazy. I mean, we should read them someday, but
how long did that take you to write them?
Like 300-page scripts.
I don't know. We usually write every day. So we try to write for an hour every day or more. Or
you still write every day?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Both of you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely we do all kind of like morning pages and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we try, yeah. I would try to take off. I always do morning pages after we took this Artist Way group, but I'll try to usually not write on the weekends though. Like some weekends, unless I have to, unless I'm in like a deadline or needing to finish something up. But
what are the morning pages?
So we took this Artist Way group.
Julia Cameron.
Yeah. We took that. This friend of ours, Savannah, she's a great actress down. So she put this group together, and he was like, you should take it. And we took it, and it was really cool. It's like a 12-week, just like artists in town. It's really me, him, another guy, and then like a bunch of girls that were like Savannah and her friends. And it was very interesting because I was like, these are like, they feel, I don't know, I'm wondering how this is going to go. Like I felt a little more kind of, I don't know, there's a lot of like, well, how would you describe that group? It was just
a lot of women, and they were, I don't know, intimidating almost in a lot of ways as artists. Yeah, like a lot of our friends who just kind of like grew up as artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, I feel like we didn't really start that journey until we were 18.
Yeah.
So it was, and they're talented, and it was an honor just to be amongst all of them for 12 weeks and get to go through that experience.
And when I started, I was like, I will never call myself an artist. I'm like, Willie Nelson's an artist. Like, I'm like, sir, but I'm like, we're not artists. And that really helped me to like define that more and really worry less about accomplishments, but more of like the way, like, how do I live more as an artist? And that was a huge turning point of like,
and just to hear other people struggle with that as well. Because one of the women in there is such an incredible artist and could not call herself an artist.
Really?
And you're just like, what? Like, how can you
It's
not that you're an artist? You're like phenomenal. You're a phenomenal singer.
Yeah.
You know,
What's the struggle though? I mean, like even for yourself, like why do you not?
because I think for a long time we wrote a lot of songs.
Yeah.
We'd go see Willie play all the time. And other people, and I'm
just
like,
comparing
I'm
ourselves.
not gonna. And also it was part of that thing. Like Steven, the big mentor in our life was just like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And there is that.
What does that mean?
Well, he was like, it just seems like a lot of people are out there just because they can do it, they're doing it, but maybe they shouldn't be. Like, there's just a lot of crap. He was like, we kind of are living in the age of mediocrity.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was back in like 2005, probably. But he's like, live in the age of mediocrity and just a lot of mediocre stuff. And I have different takes. I'm very happy the world has like become a more creative place with all the like apps, and like I feel like it's good for people to be creative. It's just funny sometimes. It feels like everyone is like their own paparazzi, like on Instagram, you know, like they're like dying. So, but I think different. Like at least there's a lot more people familiar with photography, videography, stuff like that. But
I would argue the opposite.
just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I think that if you feel like that's something that you should be doing, I mean, I'm not really a big should word, but it's like for people, and particularly like me, you know, you take guys like me that are stuck in places that you don't feel like you can creatively express yourself at all. I'm not going to be a Willie Nelson or, you know, any of these others, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, if I get to write a little piece of poetry,
Yeah.
like I feel like, wow, like look at me. And I'm living, man.
Yeah, I don't think he was saying it in that term.
Yeah,
I think he was in Christofferson's band for like 30 years.
Sure.
I don't know if you know much about, or heard much Christofferson. He is this songwriter poet that like each word carries so much weight. And the story of his Chris was he like wrote songs forever. He said he hung around songwriters for like 4 years just listening before he would even play them his own songs. So that's more, I think, what he meant was like, you know, Chris didn't just like he wrote a bunch of stuff until it was really good. And so that's, I think, kind of where we took that a little farther. We're like, I'm not going to go, you know, play my stuff. And, you know, I'm not going to, just careful. You know, I had 50 songs. I mean, I could have played them. So I've read a lot of songs. I could just play them. But it's like, I shouldn't just play them all my song. I should really work the craft and really get a great song. And then I could play them that great song. Or, you know, maybe there's a balance there. But yeah.
I think too that, well, Nick has like the most persistence I've ever seen in my life. Like I think he's probably written hundreds of songs at this point. I don't know how many songs you've written.
At least over 100.
At least over 100. Yeah. His daughter's probably
300.
200, and she's only 11 somehow, his daughter.
Wow.
But like you see that, like with Nick, like he'll write so many songs, and then like one out of every 50 will be like, damn, that's really good.
Yeah.
You see how much it takes to write one really good.
Right. Yeah.
There's only so many really good songs out there. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, I've always admired that about Nick. He's really persistent at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say that I think that's how he stays sane and sober in a lot of ways. But that there's this teacher of ours who is the reason that we got, because I think what this show's about, or what your podcast is about, specifically too, in some ways, is about how art is like some form of being therapeutical in a way. And like we found this woman, Dana Wheeler Nicholson, and we got into her acting class whenever we were like 21 or 22 or 23. And it was like going into another dimension or something. It was like another world. And it was, I think to me, it was like the first time we saw, oh my God, this is what inner work is. Like we were doing like dream work and, you know, Jungian therapy style stuff, sense memory work. Like, and we were in this class with like 7 or 8 people. It was a small class, but she was such an incredible teacher in the way that she would hold space for people when they were breaking down and crying and losing it. And then you would go up there and you were interacting and reenacting your dreams, and people were playing characters, and you were starting to lose sense of like, you know, dreams and reality in a way. But it was like such deep subconscious work tied into film. And that, I know for me, like that was like the changing, like I remember going the first time I went, it was so profound. I left and I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. It was too heavy. It was like
heavy.
it was so intense.
Yeah.
It just like doing dream work and then being thrown into outer space and like, all this crazy stuff that it took me like a good 6 months before I could go back to do it again with Dana. And we still work with Dana to this day. It's been like 20 years. Unfortunately, she doesn't live in Austin anymore and doesn't have that class, but we'll do like remote work with her. But we met a lot of the people we met, we're still really close to through that work because we bonded so deeply doing that work together. And we use that for writing. We've used that for everything. For our last film, like we do dream work and we call Dana and we do the dream, sign in, and we go and we do that work with Dana.
But I always remember, like, I do think creativity is like
she might be one of those 36 people you're talking about.
Maybe.
I mean, it's
Maybe.
anyone.
But I remember, like, in her class, you start with the meditation. You like have to like imagine this golden light, and like I do remember being like, damn, I felt like my imagination wasn't very. It was like a tool. I think she started explaining to us like imagination, creativity is like a tool, and I did feel like I was like, man, mine is like weak or not, Whereas like now when I do meditate daily, but I'm so much more able to visualize or like use my imagination as a tool, and it's such a great friend and a great gift. And that's priceless. And I don't think he was saying just because you can doesn't mean you shouldn't, but it's like he's saying like maybe don't quit your day job right away and just go do like there's something of like following the nudges from the universe. I think was more what he's trying to say as a guy that got hit up a lot to hear a lot of people's songs and stuff like that.
And
that's also on a very different level that he's talking about. It's somebody like me where I'm just talking about, look, I want some self-expression, man.
Yeah, that's why we were like, wait, but how are we gonna call ourselves artists when we're hanging out with Willie Nelson? And that's where that goes back to of like, how do we figure that? How do we are we artists? What does that mean? And that's been quite a journey.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I guess to me too, like in that journey, it has been so therapeutical in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a word?
Is that a word?
Therapeutic. Yeah.
It has been so
but
therapeutic.
I got what you're saying.
Therapeutical is
a better word.
Yeah, it's a creative, it's a good imagination.
Therapeutic. Yeah. So, I mean, even like us we were doing like active imagination work where you return to your dreams in your waking life and you converse with characters and you write it all out and you have dialogue. I have like 60 pages of dialogue with my anima, which is like my female soul in my waking life. So I healed this relationship with the feminine form of myself in a lot of ways through this work. So it's just crazy stuff like that you're doing. And that's like inner work. That's like even when I've gone and done ayahuasca or certain things like that, like it wasn't any more profound than that sober meditation work. Like you can get there sober and it just takes guidance and coaching and discipline.
And when we moved here and I started going to acting class, I was like trying to reset my life and restart things and, kind of get out of this rut I was in, and going to acting class was so therapeutic. That's why I really like therapeutical. It was, that should be the name of your podcast. Therapeutical. Therapeutical creativity.
Go.
Therapeutical creativity. But no,
Let's continue.
I had to rethink how to even like talk to people. I was in like such a weird spot before, and like going to acting class, getting lines and be able to like, I didn't know what to say so like be able to read this stuff and talk to people. It was just so cathartic. And then like writing songs, I'm always writing something like every, something idea and like, it does feel so good to like just write that stuff to kind of, and that's where I think though there became a line where it's like, okay, where's art to be therapeutic? And where's art to like put out there in the world and share and start creating a body? And like that became a different beat.
Because they're different animals.
And, having a kid really increased, like I have an 11-year-old, and he's really close to her too. So like whenever my wife got pregnant, like that became that gave us a little oomph and like push to be like, oh, okay, what are we doing with our lives? And where am I just being, do we want to do this and get serious about it? Or and that was about 11 years ago. That's when we started to get really serious about it. It was just like, okay, what are we, and then, because before, and we did that web series and a company paid it for it, but it was right at that moment we were like, okay, that was crazy. That was a lot of work for a company that at the end of the day, we kind of saw creative differences. It'd be like doing and it was like, that was a lot of pouring your soul and heart into something that wasn't really like super I mean, ultimately we finished it and it was a good stepping stone, but it was like, it wasn't the experience we wanted. Do we want to do this? And then that point it was like, yes. And then we're like, okay, we need to pay the bills, and then we need to set aside X amount of time and start setting goals, and like, we need to write this many scripts. And we started shooting like weddings. We started like a wedding industry, like company for a few years. And those, we'd be gone.
We shot weddings for like 5 years because we were like, either we're doing commercial stuff was like so intensive, like even that web series, that it was like we weren't getting anything done with film. We weren't making any headway with commercial stuff.
That was something we did. I was like, there's X amount of creativity. So if you're like there's that, and it could be wrong, but it's like there's that spot where you like get your kind of your creative fix. You're doing something pseudo creative. You want to be this, but you're getting a little bit of a taste of it. That to me is a horrific spot. Or like, that's something, I don't want to live that kind of life if I can help it. I don't want to be like half in, like, oh, I'm kind of halfway doing it.
It's a cool job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it is. And what is just like that kind of work. Like, I mean, if you're doing creative stuff for a living, but you're doing it for other people the whole time, it's like, it's a cool job, but it's not necessarily like creating art.
That's like living out.
You know what I mean?
I feel like that's where I see a lot of some of the people I know experience burnout in their creativity, because they're doing it for somebody else and it's not really who they are, or really expressing themselves.
Yeah.
So we had to get real clear and was like, hey, get real specific. And it was like, hey, we like, let's take jobs. Those are jobs to pay the bills. And let's be clear about that. Let's make it for the people we're making it for, like kind of do it for the clients. It's for them. It's not where we're getting like, I don't have we just want to make good work. And then like with that rest of that energy, let's do stuff. Let's make, and that became a long, 11 years, because we made our first, so that was like 2011. We made our first movie in 2016. And that took a lot of time. And we were getting a lot better as writers by that time, but really it was till this last film, which we made last year in 2024, that I think we really cracked the code with our writing, really during COVID in like 2000. So it was like about 11 years, 10,000 hours, I guess, That was when we really like, wow, okay, we are really getting the hang of this kind of writing thing.
Yeah. But even in like all of the corporate stuff we've done throughout the years, like with our video production company, I feel like we were able to still use everything all the tools we've gotten from filmmaking, where we would pull performances out of non-actors and make it fun for them, and like get everybody to act and like do fun stuff. Or like Nick's saying, like after that one web series, we were like, let's just go do like weddings, or like when we do corporate stuff, let's just do it in a collaborative way, where a lot of times people would be like, are y'all cool if we like help? We were like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's write it together. Like you know way more about your company than we do.
Yeah,
like
right.
we want to get all your ideas.
Right.
And we made conscious choices. We always said, hey, how much money do we need to make each month or for that year? And we kind of, made that and like set real goals to be like, okay, if we work 9 months out of the year, we can do 3 with move. And like, we set real goals of like, let's just do this. And then, so people were like, oh, y'all could build a company. Y'all could have people working for y'all.
Yeah.
And I talked to different people. They're like, that becomes, so we never tried to build a sustainable company.
We never tried to like grow as a company.
Yeah. We made conscious goals, even though everyone's like, why aren't y'all?
We're still shooting on like $1,000 cameras, while all of our, years of work on like
expensive
reds.
We really were very purposeful. Like, hey, we want to make movies, and we got very, like, we want to make narrative feature film.
Yeah.
I want to make a lot of it, and Steve was good about that. It's like a lot of times what you don't want to do and saying no to stuff is more important than what you do want to do.
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that. So it was in those moments, and then when you really get all in, so we really, from 2002 to 11 was probably just like, okay, this is fun, we're enjoying it. Then it was like, hey, all right, we're going for this. This is our lot. Like, this is kind of our lives. I have a, you know, a daughter now. We, you know, like responsibilities. And that was a big moment, because you were asking about like the moment earlier.
Right.
And then, so that was a big moment.
When the stakes get a little higher.
The stakes. And you know, and that's where responsibility can be a great thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
And, you know,
Did you say when the stakes get a little hotter on the pit?
That's exactly what that's exactly what I said. You get me. I get you.
And that's been a blessing. And then and then we, you know, even this last film, you know, because COVID hit and we really got
Sellout.
Yeah, sellout. We got to kind of do a lot of writing over. We were really hitting our stride as writers.
So this is when you hit your stride, your 10,000th hour.
Yeah.
And then
40 years later
comes in.
Benny Dane?
Benny Dane comes in.
Yeah.
We wrote that we had another thing we wanted to do. We wrote a couple things. We're like, oh, wow, our processes, our like co-writing processes, we're really figuring out a way. We really figured out a way to like not waste. I mean, you still have, there's a lot. And I have a good friend who's a great writer director in town. And he kind of early on explained his creative. We had some great mentors. He has a big movie coming out, but like, he was just like, yeah, I think of my idea. I'll drive around in the Jeep. I'll just wait till ideas hit me. Like he explained the creative process as like, you're kind of waiting on the muse to talk to you at some point. So, but like, you got to make room for that muse. If you're, you know, you got to make space for that.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of know and honor that when you're in that spot. So there's a lot of patience, and but like, you're still showing up on a daily basis. And Stephen also used to tell us that when he passed away from cancer in 2012, but he's like, you're not writing when you're just thinking. That's not writing. You're writing when you're sitting down writing. And he's like, and don't be one of those people that like at the table, like runs to the bathroom and writes something down. Like, he's like, live your life, but sit down to write every day. Like, sit down at your desk so you can at least, and maybe nothing comes, but you're there. And like, so that's what that becoming an artist has been more about. Like, how do you nurture that even more?
Yeah. It's like you're allowing that creative energy to come through you.
Yeah, you're making
to receive it.
You're like, so a lot of it was,
and then it gets interesting. Like whenever you're in that creative flow, and then synchronicity just starts happening. Like everything just starts aligning in like weird ways, and you're just like watching.
Yeah, like within the story too.
Within your life.
That's
what I mean. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like the art gods step in, and then they're like, you know, they're like giving you little symbols here and there everywhere you go, and like you start paying attention to like how everything that happens in your life is some sort of like message or symbol for like what's going on, and then it always like ties in like the story you're writing somehow, and then the people start showing up in certain ways, and like
it's a little funky.
Yeah, cool. But that was after. So we started really hitting our stride as writers. COVID happened, and then we came out, and like video stuff was kind of slow. So it was kind of this like great synchronicity of like, okay, we had a few jobs, but like, then it became like, all right, we made that one film 5 years ago. Like, we're good. We were like, finally, and that was the problem with that one film. It's really good, but we're learning stuff as writers. I don't know if it's really good, but there's great stuff. You see talent, you know, and you know, but it was like, man, we need to do this again. And then there became, okay, like, he had a kid, I had a second kid, the financial pressures were really starting to rack up.
Yeah.
And then it became like going all in. And then
you guys shut down the office.
We shut down
where I used to come and get to hang out with you.
Yeah, we got rid of the office.
No more hanging out.
And we did that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My life could have been very different. We weren't thinking about everyone. I just want to say that publicly. When you shut down the office, just things could have been different.
Things could have been different.
We had a good office.
Yeah, that was a good spot.
We really went for it. And we took on a lot of debt. I had to tell my wife, like, hey, it's going to be a crazy year. Are you like, but we got to do this. Like,
but what are you doing? Because you're not just writing, like, are you still making other like corporate?
Something, yeah.
Still doing. That's always pay the bills.
So you still,
we do like, we're doing like 4 right now.
Yeah. But for a while we didn't, and like where he
well, it's just because of pandemic. We couldn't really go shoot a lot,
and then we kind of said, I was like, oh, you have to raise money. That's the other part of it. So we started raising money, and then I really took the lead on that while he was doing the corporate. And then it was like a daily freaking call everyone, you know, like just try this fun, get some partners, get crew. Like that was a good year of just saying, man, okay, I'm, like putting everything into this, and like, cause it kind of became a moment of like, all right, either we do this or, I don't know, like we're running out of,
Luckily,
it became a moment to jump.
yeah. We were like, we have to go for it now.
Yeah.
Or shut down the company, because we've never tried to grow the company either.
Yeah.
So it's like we're always just sustaining on small jobs, and then we're just wearing 20 hats, the two of us.
Yeah. But where are you at with Sellout now?
So with Sellout, we raised the money, we shot it last fall, and then we've been edit. We just finished the edit. We just had a screening cut of it, so we screened it for like a test screening. June 3rd.
Austin Film Society work in progress.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. We had 30 people, a lot of film people, got great feedback. We keep whittling it down. So we had just some, this was the first, we've had 3 screenings. That was the first screening. Everyone was like, I love the film. They weren't confused on things. They're just like, you could cut some of these specific things down. Yeah. So then we've been making a couple of notes, and then we'll go to start submitting it to festivals in the fall. To play it for next spring. Okay. So we're gonna go.
Come on, Benny Dink.
Come on, Benny Dink.
I love Benny.
Yeah, but it's a great ride. It's a great. It's very exciting, and we just skated by. We really. So there is this thing of like, this has been a year or two of learning to create under pressure.
Yeah, but also create under pressure, but also create what is in our wheelhouse, because that's another thing Steven used to tell us. He's like, just stay in the pocket and step out a little bit with each project. And I think on our first film, we have so low budget. It was like, we ended up just both acting in it. And like on this one, we were like, okay, how do we utilize all of the strengths that we have? And it was like, Nick's a really good actor. I'm better behind the camera, so I didn't act in this one. And I was able to help with the visuals and doing a lot of that. And it was like utilizing, like it's a low budget. We can like do it on these cheap cameras, like all that stuff. So, just making certain sacrifices, but also using, taking advantage of the strengths that we have.
Yeah. How you doing on time?
No, we're doing really well.
What time is it?
6:57.
Oh, good. So we're almost done.
We're almost done.
Good. I don't think.
Can I be the guy who just crushes ice on the podcast?
Aren't you going to wear your glasses at the end of the podcast?
Yeah, why don't you?
Nick told me I couldn't wear these unless we get in Sundance.
I'm like, you
would sell out.
Those two, you have made it as a filmmaker.
You're gonna make it.
You can. They're quite the glass. They're quite the glasses.
All right, so let's
go again with these glasses.
Let's start from the top.
So
run it back. 3 minutes. Let's do it.
So we do have questions
from an audience.
I remember it's not live, but we do have questions. And one of the questions was, and I think it's poignant too, because I got to watch Sellout.
Yeah.
You got a cut of it.
Yeah, and I don't want to give too much away, but the question pertains to the idea of how is the culture in Austin changing?
Oh yeah.
Around creative artists, like what have you experienced? Or because you guys have been here for a while, so what have you kind of experienced with that?
Yeah, it's it was a lot cheaper when we were younger.
Yeah,
so that gave a certain ease. So now there's a need to like make more money just to pay the bills, and a lot of our artist friends have kind of just kind of sprouted out, like left or went other places.
Yeah.
So, but there's some are still here. A lot of them are still here, and it just kind of feels like, it's just a bigger city now. Mm-hmm. So like,
it's hard to answer that too, because like we're at a different place in our lives too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we're both older.
Yeah.
And have kids.
It would be, I'd say it would be hard to live the lifestyle we live. Used to live for really cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to do what we did. We lived for really cheap for a long time, and that would be hard to do here. And there was also a lot of other people that could live for really cheap, and they'd play like, our friends would play the Continental every other weekend, and we were hanging out with them all the time, and like you could just go have lunch and just like, I don't know, but we also have kids now and have so it's kind of feels like we're different spots.
It was like a weird, and it was also because we were filming a lot the whole time, so we were just constantly documenting like things getting torn down, staples of Austin being like just like going away and all those things. So it's like constantly like seeing that happen.
Yeah.
That it started to feel over time like, man, what's going on? Like, is Austin selling out and all those things? And, then like as it kept going on, it was kind of like, well, you just kind of like got to roll with the evolution of what it is. Mm-hmm. And like in a lot of ways, like there's still so much great art and definitely way more better restaurants now.
Yeah.
There's really nothing good to eat back then.
And there's
There's like 3 good
yeah.
restaurants in Austin back
And
when we moved here in 2002.
I think there's an interesting time where like there are a lot of people like maybe that are interested in supporting the arts, and that if we could just merge those people, there's a lot more opportunity now. So if you can merge the people interested in supporting the artists who need support, and there's a lot of those, I think it's a very exciting time to be an artist in Austin right now. I mean, Vulcan Video, though, that was our video store. That's where we'd go get our movies. We'd talk to the guy. He'd give us the list, the directors. There's things like that. But I mean, I feel like very lucky we were had the perfect time of it all. Like, that was a time to just hang out as artists and be creative and not worry about. And now it's like, okay, you have to, the movie needs to do, like, I don't know, you want to take steps in your career, you don't want to just do it for just, it can't just be therapeutical. It
sees the beginning of this. They're going to think you came up with that word.
Yeah. But it is very, like, I do think but I still think it should be. And that's what that Dana was big about, was just like, how do you, like, I don't know, like, how does an artist take the pain and worries and fears and hurts and like package that up and make that into something for other people? And then, like, how many people do they want to try? And if you make it for too many, maybe it gets a little mainstream. And I don't know.
There's still so much. Like you can go on Wednesday night to the Continental Gallery and hear like Brandon Temple and Red play music, and it's mind blowing.
Yeah,
it's just you go there, but I'm always just shocked at how it's not as crowded as you would think for being like world class, incredible music.
Right.
So, it still exists here, and I think you gotta find it. You still gotta get out of the house and go.
And it's very interesting with COVID and all the technology and the Zoom and all that stuff. Like, now you can have so many meetings, digital video meetings.
Right.
So like, place is not. It's weird. It's like, it's not what it used to be. Like, it's just so easy to be in touch with so many people.
Yeah.
But people want to come here. I don't know. It's an interesting time.
It is an interesting
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Well, good.
All right,
guys. Well, this concludes our podcast.
Included.
Thank you.
It was very therapeutical.
Therapeutical.
Just making sure I got that
I
right.
need you to work that word every podcast you ever do.
All right, guys. Thank you
All right,
so much
thanks for having us.
Nick, Josh, you guys take care of yourselves.
I hope that was helpful and somewhat interesting.
Oh, yeah. No, this is good. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Signing off.